Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Let's jump into the latest news impacting the country, the economy, as well as our money, and some massive misinformation that is emerging not only from social media outlets, but also according to the White House, from certain conservative news outlets. Yes, folks, that is true. Let's start by taking a look at what Lauren Boebert, the Republican congressman, said about the Second Amendment. First of all, let's explore the Second Amendment. And I quote, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." This is what Congressman Lauren Boebert said about the Second Amendment. This is not a privilege or a benefit. This is a right. And Democrats need to keep their dirty, filthy, corrupt, greedy hands off of our rights. Wow. Let's roll the tape and hear from Congressman Lauren Boebert, the Republican, talking about the Second Amendment. Now, she is making it seem like the Democrats are coming after all our weapons. That is not the case, but let's hear what she has to say and let's roll the tape. Let's watch.
This is not a privilege or a benefit. This is a right. And Democrats need to keep their dirty, filthy, corrupt, greedy hands off of our rights. Our founding fathers so beautifully crafted the Constitution and the Bill of Rights because they didn't want to reimpose tyranny upon themselves. They had just fought and won a war to make sure that they were free from a tyrannical, overreaching government. And they listed details to ensure that freedom. When they created government here in America, when they started lining that out, what government would look like, they said government is instituted by the people. We, the people, install government to secure our rights. Unfortunately, government has now grown to the point where they think that they're only here to keep us safe and limit us from those rights that we have, those self-evident rights, and they think that they are the ones who can only explain them to us. No, they are self-evident. We don't need politicians to describe those rights to us. We need them to secure our rights.
Now let's shift gears away from crazy lawmakers to the President of the United States. President Biden, at a recent cabinet meeting, was asked about restoring the international standing of the United States of America, to which the President said America was really behind the eight ball for the last 4 years. Let's roll the tape and hear from President Biden. Let's watch.
Those of you who travel around the world, I know our ambassador to the United Nations knows it full well, that America was really behind the eight ball the last 4 years. We've lost a lot of our standing. I don't have to tell that to my buddy sitting on my right here, the Secretary of State. He understands it well.
In the meantime, the White House Communications Director, Kate Bedingfield, said that social media companies should, I quote, be held accountable for misinformation sharing on their platforms. Now, in fact, President Biden specifically said that he believes Facebook is actually killing people. Yes, that is what President Biden said. And let's get back to Kate Bedingfield. She also said, I quote, "There are conservative news outlets who are creating irresponsible content." Let's roll the tape and hear from the White House Communications Director, Kate Bedingfield. Let's watch.
Well, we're reviewing that, and certainly they should be held accountable. And I think you've heard the president speak very aggressively about this. He understands this is an important piece of the ecosystem. But it's also the other thing the president has pointed out and spoke to when he was asked about this yesterday is it is also the responsibility of the people creating the content. And again, I would go back to, there are conservative news outlets who are creating irresponsible content that's sharing misinformation about the virus that's getting shared on these platforms.
And getting back to the president was asked whether voters were in favor of infrastructure legislation. And the president said, "I think they're a little tired of infrastructure week for 4 years in a row." He's basically saying, hey, the American people are tired of hearing about infrastructure. They just want things done. We need to deliver for the American people. And I believe he's right. Let's roll the tape and hear from President Biden. Let's watch.
And the American people are overwhelmingly supportive of our plans. That's the part that a lot of our friends on the other team kind of miss. The polling data shows that they strongly support our efforts for infrastructure. I think they're a little tired of infrastructure week for 4 years in a row. I think we're on the verge of maybe being able to get something really done. Rebuilding roads and bridges, replacing lead water pipes, delivering high-speed internet to every American, rural and inner city, and taking on the climate crisis with American jobs.
And speaking of important subjects, the president also said this, I quote, "We are in a defining competition for the second quarter of the 21st century with China and many other nations. Many of these nations believe autocracy is the future. In other words, dictatorships. In other words, making sure that one person rules the entire country." President Biden said, "I reject that notion completely. And I think the vast majority of the American people do as well." Pretty incredible comments from the President of the United States. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Thirdly, restoring American leadership in the world. I know you all have, those of you who travel around the world, I know our ambassador to the United Nations knows it full well, that America was really behind the eight ball the last 4 years. We've lost a lot of our standing. I don't have to tell that to my buddy sitting to my right here, the Secretary of State. He understands it well. And as I said before, we are in a defining competition right now for the 21st century, for the second quarter of the 21st century with China and many other nations. And many of these nations believe that autocracy is the future, that democracies cannot compete with autocracies because it's so hard, things are moving so rapidly, technologically and otherwise, that democracies can't get the act together enough to get a consensus how to move. Well, I reject that notion completely, and I think the vast majority of American people do as well. You know, in my conversations and meetings with world leaders, just coming back from, I guess, 8-9 days over there, ending with a meeting with Putin, you know, I'm making it absolutely clear that democracy is more capable, and America is back. Whether it's helping vaccinate the world, and we're not just vaccinating ourselves, we'll get into it, we're going to help vaccinate the world. We're building back better to create jobs and grow the middle class, not just at home, everywhere. It's in our interest that the economies of these other nations grow. And we're going to lead the fight against the climate crisis and tackling the challenges of cybersecurity. We've been very clear to our other nations as to what we expect in terms of their conduct.
So let me know what you think of these incredible comments from Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, the Republican, and other comments from the White House Communications Director, Kate Bedingfield, and of course, the President of the United States. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with these comments in the comment section below. You'll get the link to all of our resources in the description section below. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I want you to know that I work hard on this channel every single day to bring you the latest news, and my goal is to bring you the truth wherever the truth might lead us. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click the like button, click subscribe, enable notifications. That is your vote of confidence in our channel and all the efforts that go into our channel. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.